And there we go, and now we're live. So, hi, welcome. I'm Laura, and I'm going to be taking you on a yoga and self-care excursion today. So, if you need to, you can always pause this at any time and come back and watch it later. Ideally, you're going to have a yoga block, a ball, a strap. You do not absolutely need any of these things. There are ways to work around all of them. So don't fret. But if you do have a block, grab it. If you do have a strap or a towel, grab those. The massage therapy balls, not a lot of folks have these. But if you have a tennis ball will work good. If you have a dog or children, their balls that they play with will be good. They might be dirty and you might need to clean them, but they'll be really good for it. Lacrosse ball is not going to be really effective in this. It's going to be a little bit too small for the parts of the body that we're trying to target, but work around whatever you've got. Okay. So let's go ahead and start in constructive rest pose. Constructive rest pose is one of the easiest poses and one of really the most important poses. We're going to start off lying down. And we're lying down, my knees are bent, my feet are on the ground. My arms are wherever it's most comfortable. My lower back is not all the way on the ground. I've got a little bit of an arch in the lower back. I've got the natural curve still going on. So I'm not trying to get rid of that curve and tuck the tailbone. I'm going to keep the curve. And from here, I just want you to focus on your breathing. Slow and steady, Ujjayi breathing, that's in and out through your nose. Filling the lungs and the diaphragm, so belly and chest expand with each inhale and contract on the exhales. We're trying to let go of the outside world. Focus internally. We're allowing the psoas muscles to relax here. Psoas muscles are our fight or flight muscles. And so if those psoas muscles are tight, we tend to stay a little bit in a state of angst or agitation. And conversely, if we're agitated, those muscles go tight, they kind of draw us into a little bit of a fetal position. We're just trying to let them relax. You may feel movement going on in the lower back. Don't fight it. Don't try to control it. Just allow whatever happens to happen. You should be able to feel the body starting to unwind a little bit. When I recommend this pose to my clients, I recommend it, believe it or not, for 10 to 15, maybe even 20 minutes every day. We're not going to stay here that long, don't worry. And if you hear some deep sighing every once in a while, that would be the dog lying on the couch. So pay no attention to the deep sigher over there. From here, I want to go into myofascial release. I want to use the massage therapy balls. We're going to stay lying down, and then depending on the size of your ball, and if you've never worked with me before, the ball jokes they're limitless. There are so many ball jokes. Feel free to make them. Feel free to crack up while you're watching this and we're talking about balls. We all do it. So depending on how big your ball is, you might, because I have a nice big alpha ball, I might be able just to take this ball right underneath my waist on the left side of my spine. So we've got a QL. We're stretching into the QL, the quadratus lumborum. So actually, let me show you where the QL is. So we were just relaxing our psoas muscles. When our psoas starts at the front of the back of where the ribs meet the spine, they attach, at the front of the ilium, the front of the back of the hip, and then into the lesser trochanter, the inner thigh. So they go from deep in the body through all the way to the inner thigh. So they cut through our core, but they're not a core muscle per se. Now we're going into the QL, the quadratus lumborum. This guy, and I always refer to this muscle as a guy. I think any muscle that's really tight on me, I always say it's a guy. They're the difficult ones for me. So the QLs start at the back of where the ribs meet the spine to the back of the ilium, so one on each side of the spine. Because it attaches where the ribs and the spine meet, it can pull on the ribs, the spine, pull on the shoulder blade, the shoulder, the hip, the sacrum, and even the knee. So if one of these guys is tight, the right side is tight, it can really wreak havoc. If the left side is tight, it can wreak havoc. Both of them are tight, it's even worse. So we're going to try and give a little relief to that. So we're going to take the ball. I've got my larger ball. So I bring the ball from underneath my waist to the right of my spine and let my bum drape over. My bum's not quite on the ground. It's kind of touching, but not all the way on the ground. And you may not have been able to see that my eyes kind of rolled into the back of my head because it's a really tight, tight muscle for me. And if you have a smaller ball, Pam, I think you have a tennis ball, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you happen to have a block?
No.
Okay. So if you had a block and a ball, and I'll tell you how to do it if you don't have a block, sorry. If you have a block and a smaller ball, you can take the block underneath your waist and then bring the ball on top and let your body drape over. Now, if you don't have a block and you have a ball, a smaller ball, we can do this on the wall. And we may have done this in classes before with the ball on the wall. And you'll just take the ball right around waist level and lean against the wall. Stand from a standing position. Did you just try that? Was that you moaning?
Not necessarily.
All right. So this, feel free to moan away while you're doing this, you know. So this tends to be really tight for a lot of us. So here we are just trying to release that muscle a little bit, or release the fascia surrounding the muscle a little bit. So you can move slightly side to side. Can't go very far. You don't have a lot of space. Move slightly up and down. If you're lying down, your knees can start to splay over towards the side. Ooh. And then what I like to ask folks is on a scale 1 to 10 to rate this, how intense it is. So Pam, where are you on this?
I am at a 5.
Okay, not bad. So when I started this, that's probably a 7 or an 8. So now I'd say I'm probably closer to a 5 or a 6. And the more I move slightly while I'm here, the more it starts to release a little bit more. If you're not sure if you found the area, most likely you have not found it because most folks are really tight here. Go ahead and come on off. If you're lying on the ground, just take the ball out and just lie still for a moment. I just want you to feel the difference between the right and the left side. And then let's go over to the other side. Take your ball, other side. So if you're on the wall, it's not quite as intense, but you can still get a pretty good release from this. If you're on the wall, if the feet go a little bit further away from the wall, you'll get a little bit more intensity out of it. And be careful because your balls will go rolling away and they'll fall. Runaway balls. That was this side, Pam.
Yeah, this side is much more 7.
Yeah, it's amazing the difference. So if you have a big discrepancy in the sides and you don't have an injury that you're recovering from, I would start to look at your daily habits in life, like how you sit when you watch TV. Are you always turned a little bit? Or when you sit at your desk, is your computer not facing directly in front of you? Or are you always turned a little bit? So those little daily patterns really add up and can cause some tightness on one side and some openness on the other. And we'd like our muscles to all be strong, but flexible. We don't want to be tight. Is it starting to loosen up?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So much. And so in the mornings when I come downstairs, if I'm really tight and I start using my balls, and you'll just hear me, oh my gosh. Right. Oh. Okay, let's go ahead and take that ball off and notice how that feels. If you're lying on the ground, I want you to notice if one side of your lower back is off the ground more than the other. That's really an interesting way to see if there's discrepancies in the body. And if you have the balls, there are so many different ways that you can use the massage therapy balls. There are a couple of places that you don't want to roll on. We don't roll on our throat. We don't roll right on the bikini line. That's the inguinal ligament. We don't roll on that. Some of the things I think are really obvious, but maybe not. You don't roll directly on a wound, right, or on a break. And if something is intense, I always err on the side of caution. So if it's really intense, rolling on the QL, don't roll on it. Roll above it or below it. Loosen up some of the fascia that leads to where we're trying to be, and that can help to alleviate some of the problems. So that's your little ball 101 primer. So from here, let's go ahead and come on up, and you can use a block for this, but you don't need a block. We're going to come onto our hands and knees, please. I'm going into what's called turbo table. And so a lot of folks know table. Table is on our hands and knees. In turbo table, we're going to change this a little bit. So in turbo table, we're trying to widen our upper back. So it's almost like the cat from Cat and Cow. We're widening the upper back. Then we're going to pull the head of the humerus into our shoulder joint. So this is my humerus bone, my arm bone. You take the head of it, the round part, and suck that into my shoulder. From there, I bend my elbows and squeeze the arms. And this is where the block can come in handy, because you can squeeze the block between your arms. You don't need the block, but for those of you who are new to this, it's a really nice reminder. So again, it's a wide back, arms into the shoulders, bend the elbows, and squeeze the arms towards each other. Now my hips, my bum, my booty, they stay over my knees. Tendency is going to be to lean back like this. You don't want that. So get the hips and the knees lined up, widen your back, arms into the shoulders, bend the elbows. How much you bend them is up to you. Tiny bend, deep bend. Keep breathing. Keep pulling the arms into the shoulders, widen the back. Keep your neck neutral. Breathe. Go ahead and come on up. If you started fatiguing during that and were embarrassed because you were fatiguing in a table pose, Please don't. Table can be incredibly intense. What we want to avoid in table is to make sure that our elbows aren't going out to the sides. So again, it's wide back, arms into the shoulders, bending the elbows, and squeezing them towards each other. So if you're still new to this, you would start off with a little bend. You want to go deeper, deeper bend. Still wide back, arms into the shoulders. Pam, where do you feel this when you do this?
I feel this in my shoulders.
Okay. Evenly on both of them?
I'm going to say yes, even though I'm not sure.
Okay. So I'm still in this, and right now my forearms are ready to cry. My left shoulder, because I'm still rehabbing an injury, my left shoulder feels this a lot more. My right bicep feels this more. My right shoulder doesn't feel much. My right shoulder is good. So you're not going to feel this in exactly the same parts of the body because we don't use the body symmetrically. I have an old injury in my left shoulder. And don't you have a problem with one of your shoulders?
Not me.
Not you? All right, it's somebody else? All right.
Not me. But so even though I'm right-handed, and I'm feeling it more in the right forearm, am I not using my right forearm as much as my left then? Is that the implication?
No, not necessarily. Do you do a lot of mouse? Do you do a lot of computer work with the mouse?
Not a lot.
Okay. So I know like one of my clients is a graphic designer and she's always with the mouse, and that arm that uses the mouse has a lot of problems. So I would just start to look at what you're doing. And are you still practicing yoga on a regular basis?
At least once a week.
Fabulous. Look at when you're in down dog or in arm balances or planks or anything that's weight bearing. Notice if one arm is using more weight than the other.
Got it.
Notice when you're in down dog. So a lot of folks, when they go into down dog, you know, they have some kind of imbalance like this. So right now my right arm is doing the work. My left arm is just kind of, you know, hanging out. There, now I've got both of them working. They're both evenly distributing the weight, but my left arm is having to work so much more because there's an old injury.
Got it.
So it's not necessarily a horrible thing, it's just something to watch. So, all right. So from here, let's go ahead back into our turbo table. Wide back, arms into the shoulders, bend the elbows. If you're okay with it, you can tuck your toes under and lift up into downward facing dog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you want to make down dog, so here we are in down dog. If we want to make down dog more intense, oh, turbo dog, bending the elbows. Still pulling the bum up and back. Oh, mama. Breathe. Look at your hands. Let's silently step your right foot forward. We're going to bring the left knee down to the ground for a low lunge. Notice that I fold my mat over to give myself extra cushioning underneath my knee. Oh, and notice how you can't see me anymore. I have to change that angle. So we've got our left knee down on the ground, my right knee is forward. Keep breathing. We're drawing the right knee forward. We're pushing down through the right foot and pulling the torso off the thigh. Reach the arms up. We're trying to get the hips leveled. So pants are always a great way to see if the hips are leveled. Right now you can see my right hip is higher than my left hip. Drop it down. And we want the hips to be pointing forward to be squared as well. So right knee pulls forward, right hip pulls back and down. Breathe. We're going to keep the left arm up, right arm comes down as we side fold towards your right side. As we do that, this right hip may try to lift up and out to the side. Drop the right hip down and back. Right knee pulls forward. Keep your chest pointing forward. And breathe. This right arm can be wherever it feels best for you. And come on back up. Let's bring the hands down, one on each side of the foot. I'm going to turn so you can see me better. The toes on our right foot are pointing straight forward. The toes on our left foot are pointing straight back. Keep the left foot pointing straight back. Your hands can be on the ground or on blocks. Lift the back knee off the ground. It can be the tiniest lift, it can be a bigger lift. Keep the ankle straight. It may try to turn. Keep the ankle straight. If you can, hands can come off the ground onto the leg or even up towards the sky. This is deceptively challenging. So much harder than you think. It's inner thighs, adductors that we're working here. Gently bring the hands back down. Even more gently, the knee comes down. Tuck the toes under. Lift the knee. We're going to be really nice in this class. Pam, I know you're used to sometimes when I'm not so nice, but this one is going to be so nice. Step the foot forward. Standing forward fold. Keep a little bend to your knees. And if you have a block, the block is really helpful. You can bring your hands onto the block. It could be on the ground, on the leg. Since you're all practicing probably at home, if you have a couch nearby, you can bring your hands onto the couchy. Toes are pointing forward. Your bum lifts up, hinge at the hips. And then let's start with a little hip swaying. I want you to imagine that your bum is on a wall. Keep both cheeks on the wall as you shift over towards the right and over towards the left. And just keep going side to side. I'm not trying to bring my hips closer to my shoulder. I'm not swinging my hips. They stay on that imaginary wall and they just go side to side. I try to do this in the morning while I'm brushing my teeth. It gets messy sometimes, but it's a good stretch in the body. Now, bring the feet wider apart, about mat distance apart. So I'm a petite little thing. I'm short. So my feet are only about mat distance apart. If you're a little bit taller, feel free to bring your feet a little bit wider apart than that. And then same thing, go side to side. It's a much different stretch now. Still keeping your bum on that imaginary wall. And notice if there's a difference one side versus the other side. If you want to go a little bit deeper as you shift over towards the right, you could bend your right knee. Go a little bit deeper still. And those of you who are my regular clients know this, but for those of you who aren't, when you're doing this, when you bend your knee, we don't want the knee to extend beyond the heel. We're trying to keep the knee and the heel lined up with each other. So the bum has to shift back a little bit more for that to happen. Come back to the center. Bring the feet back closer to each other. Block can go to the side if you were using one. Step back into down dog. If you want a vinyasa into down dog, feel free. And draw the sit bones up and back. Really push down through the arms. Wide back, arms into the shoulders. If you were to bend your elbows, they would bend down, not out to the sides. Look at your hands, and then step your left foot forward. Your right knee is going to come down to the ground. Now, for some of you, when you step the foot forward, it might not go this far forward. That's fine. Wherever it gets to is fine. Just move it. So we've got the right knee down. Pull the left knee forward. Lengthen your torso. and lift up. So I teach yoga, and that's what I do for a living. So my body should be pretty well balanced. But Pam's has been studying with me for years and years, and she knows that I'm very much not balanced because of a bad fall I had once. And so when I go into this one, you can see the difference. This left hip is up really high. I'm trying to get the hips level. Drop the left hip down. Get them to point forward. Pull the left hip back and down. Lengthen your torso. Breathe. I like it how sometimes when I say to breathe deeply, the dog breathes deeply. It's really, I enjoy it. I'm going to keep this right arm up, left arm comes down. Side fold. We're stretching again into our psoas, so you may feel this into the belly or into the top of the right thigh quad. Come on back up. Hands come down to the ground. We're trying to keep the toes pointing straight back. Lift the right knee off the ground. If you're okay with this, hands can come onto the leg, onto blocks, or reach up towards the sky. And like I said, this is a deceptively challenging pose. It's much harder than it looks. That right knee might even stay on the ground the entire time. Try to draw the outer thighs in. Squeeze the legs towards each other. Breathe. Gently, hands come down. Even more gently, knee comes down. Tuck the toes under. Lift the knee, and we're going to step that back foot, that right foot forward. Inhale, monkey, scoop forward and up. Exhale, sitting forward fold. Hands can be on the ground, on blocks or a couch, on the leg. You can hold onto the elbows. Whatever works best for you. Bring your hands down to the ground, and let's step back into downward facing dog. So we're trying to pull the sit bones up and back. Now, if you're really tight, it's not going to look like this, right? It might look something more like this, or you might have to bend your knees, which is absolutely fine. Bend the knees if you need to. Try to keep the width in the upper back. Arms pulling into the shoulders. And for those of you who know this, imagine that I'm standing in front of you. I put one foot up on your hip. I put the second foot up on your hip, and I push up and back. So imagine that I'm standing up on your hips. Turbo dog, if you'd like to go a little bit deeper, bending the elbows down. And then let's come into child's pose. Big toes together, knees apart. Torso comes between the legs. The forehead comes down to the ground. In traditional child's pose, arms are overhead, but you could always, I like this alternative, keep the elbows on the ground. Hands come into prayer at the nape of the neck. And if you have shoulder issues at all, this feels much better on your shoulders than arms reaching forward. Let the hands underneath your elbows, ease yourself up. And let's come into sitting. We're going into Janu Shirshasana. Bring your left leg forward. And your right foot comes in. And depending on how flexible you are, This right foot could be against the left calf, thigh, or you could even have it in towards the groin with the hips open. If you're a little bit tighter and this knee is pointing up, bring a block underneath your leg. Put a blanket underneath your leg. Turn to face your bent knee. Inhale your left arm up towards the sky. Exhale, side fold. Left arm comes down onto your leg or onto the ground to the inside of the leg. Right arm reaches up towards the sky. If this doesn't feel good on the shoulder, bird wing. Find where it feels good for you to look. Some styles will tell you to look up towards your thumb. Some will tell you to look straight forward. And some will tell you to look down. Find what works for your neck today. Pin the right cheek down. Lengthen your torso. And brace the arm against the leg as you open your chest. Breathe. If you're very tight, you could take your strap hook it around your foot and hold on to the strap. Let's take this top arm, reach it back, shoulder pulls back, stretching to the side of the neck. Keep lengthening, keep breathing. Take the back arm, the right arm, reach it overhead. And let's come into a forward fold over the straight leg. I'm trying to get both shoulders to point forward towards this left foot evenly. For a lot of us, that left shoulder will be leading the way. So turn the chest. You may have to turn the hip a little bit. You could be holding onto the strap, holding onto the foot. You could hold onto your foot. You could even bring a block beyond the foot and hold onto that. We want to avoid rounding. We're trying to pull the belly away from the bum and the chest away from the belly. So we can get a nice flat back. Right hand comes to the outside of your leg or holds onto the strap. So it could be here, could hold onto the foot, the ankle, the calf, wherever it feels best. Your left hand comes behind you on the ground. Push down through the left hand and the right knee or the right leg. So you pull the chest forward and twist. And if you're okay, you could take this left hand, wrap it around behind you, holding onto your pants, your shirt, or maybe even your thigh. But make sure if you're wrapping the arm that it's holding onto something to help you lengthen as you twist. And so some days I can take hold of that thigh. Today doesn't feel good. I'm going to keep the hand on the ground, lengthen, twist, push down through the right leg. And then come back to the center and forward fold. Again, notice how you go a little bit deeper now. Come on back up. Let's see what happens on the other side. Now, before you totally switch the sides, notice how the side of your torso feels, the right side versus the left side. Probably a little bit longer through the right side right now. So let's see if we can even it up a bit. Right leg goes forward, left foot comes in. Again, the foot can be against the calf, the thigh, or in the groin. If the knee is up, bring block underneath it. Inhale your right arm up towards the sky. Exhale, side fold, right arm either on the leg or on the ground to the inside of the leg. Feel free to use a strap if that's better for you. Left arm reaches up. Oh my, and notice the difference. Is this left side tighter than your right side? For me, it's so much tighter. Oh my gosh. Pin the left cheek down. Pull the torso towards the foot. Open the chest. If this doesn't feel good on the left arm, bird wing. Now, is there a difference on the two sides for you?
The left is tighter.
Yeah, oh my gosh, isn't that amazing? Keep lengthening. So if I were practicing on my own and I didn't have to worry about people watching me, I would probably do this left side twice, because it's not that I'm trying to keep the same amount of time on each side, it's that I'm trying to get to the same level of openness on each side. And so it's going to take me a little bit longer on the side. Clearly, because 24 years, it's still not as open yet. Keep lengthening as you twist open. Find where it feels good to look, either up, forward, or down. And so if you're starting out with your yoga practice, please don't worry about whether your arm can come down onto the ground or whether you can hold onto the foot or where you get into the pose. Wherever you are today is perfect. Just trying to get a little bit better today than you were before you started. So let's take the top arm, reach it back, shoulder pulls back, stretch into the side of the neck. So in my 24-year yoga practice, some days goes fabulous, some days I'm just happy that I get onto the mat. Keep pinning your cheek down, keep lengthening your torso. You'll notice that I turn my hand while I'm here and I change the arm position slightly. I'm just trying to find where do I get the best stretch into my neck. Let's take this back arm, reach it overhead, and let's slowly come into a forward fold over the straight leg. Now this is my tighter side, so on this side, when I try to forward fold over the right leg, my right shoulder is really leading the way. I want both shoulders even, so I'm going to have to scoot my left hip a little forward and then come into it. Pull the sit bones back, draw the chest forward. Hands can be on the foot, you can hold onto the strap, you can hold on to a block at the end of your foot, whatever feels best. And let's take your left hand to the outside of the foot, ankle, calf, thigh, or holding onto the strap. Right hand comes back behind you. Push down through the right hand, push down through this left leg. Lengthen and twist towards your right. Try to get taller as you twist. I know it may not feel like much right now, but after we do this little twist and we go back into the forward fold, I'm always amazed at how much deeper I can go. And then come back, forward fold. Forward folds are great for calming the central nervous system, so they're great to do before we try to go to bed. And you can always put a blanket or a pillow on top of your leg and forward fold from here. If you're tight, forward folds don't feel real comfy, so you can always do them standing, might feel a little bit better to calm the central nervous system. And to ease yourself back up. Good. Go ahead and unwind the legs, give them a little wiggle if they need it. And then we're going to come down onto our backs. Let me show you what we're going to do before you start going into it. If you're tight, you might need that strap or towel. So I start off lying on my back, and then take this right foot with my right hand, or with the strap, and I'm going to draw my right knee down towards the ground. I notice as I do that, my left hip totally comes off the ground, totally fine. Don't worry about that. And then come back onto the bum, and then down. We're going to do this a few times. From here, we'll start to go a little bit deeper by coming onto our bum, taking hold with our left hand, and bringing it over to the opposite side. So that as I start doing this more, I'll start going deeper. So more of a Supta Padangusthasana, for those of you who know it, and a spinal twist. And then just change hands. Feel free to do this with the strap. Back and forth. You don't have to go as deep as I go, or maybe you go a little bit deeper than I go. It's okay too. I'm not trying to go necessarily into the fullest range of this though. We're not trying to keep both cheeks on the ground. That hip is going to lift. Go ahead, come on back. And let's switch the legs. So now the left knee pulls in. If you're doing this with a strap, you would be holding onto the strap of the left hand. Knee comes down, right hip lifts. You go back and forth a few times. And then when you feel ready, you're going to switch the hands, and it goes over towards the right side. Switch hands, knee towards the ground. Switch hands. Try one more time. And draw the leg back up. And bring the feet onto the ground. So now we're back in that constructive rest pose that we started in. And hopefully it feels a bit better now than it did before. You can stay in constructive rest pose if you want to straighten the legs. If that feels better, feel free. If you'd like to take what's called Viparita Parini, which is legs up the wall, feel free. We're getting ready for Shavasana, final relaxation. If you're new to yoga, you're going to lie there. There's no trick to this pose. You are technically going to lie there. That's it. That's all you're doing. So I want you to find a comfortable position, lying down. If you need to cover yourself, feel free. If you'd like to put on any extra layers of clothing, feel free to do that now as well. Roll the shoulders down your back as you're lying down. Let the eyes close. Let the breathing become slow and steady. Take a moment. Squeeze the feet. Tighten the feet. Tighten all the muscles of the feet. And relax them. Draw the toes towards your calves. So flex your feet. Flex them strongly. And then relax. Engage the legs, the thighs, the hamstrings, the quads, maybe even your bum. Squeeze the muscles. Tighten. And relax. Now definitely squeeze the bum. Engage the belly. Nice and tight. Squeeze. Hold it. and relax. Draw the shoulders up towards the ears. Squeeze them up as high as you can. Keep drawing them up. And relax. Squeeze the eyes shut. Purse the lips. Squeeze as tight as you can. Keep squeezing, keep squeezing. And relax. Make fists. Squeeze the arms. Engage the arms. Tighter and tighter. And relax. Stay with your breath. Deep inside of me, there is an infinite well of love. And now allow that love to flow to the surface. It fills my mind, my heart, my body, my spirit, my consciousness, my very being. It radiates out from me in all directions and returns to me multiplied. The more love I use and give, the more I have to give. The supply is endless. The use of love makes me feel good. It is an expression of my own inner joy. With each inhale, I draw love in, being nourished, nurtured by this love. With each exhale, I send love out into the world, and I am surrounded by love. I am enveloped by love. And everyone who comes into contact with me is touched by this love. And so with each inhale, I draw love in. With each exhale, I send love out. Keep going, a few more breaths. Inhaling, drawing love in. Exhaling, sending love out. Allow yourself to be bathed in this feeling of love. Being loved and loved and loving. Starting with yourself first. Slowly begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers, waking your body. Draw your knees in towards the chest. You can hug the knees in close. You can rock from side to side or make circles with your knees. Slowly roll over towards your right side. Push down through your arms and ease yourself up until you're sitting comfortable. May we find peace in what we see, speak, and feel. May peace flow from our hearts to the world. In the world, may we bring peace back to our hearts. And through our energy, our prana, may we help the entire world find peace. Namaste. Namaste. Thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed today's class. If you have any questions, feel free to comment and we'll get those questions answered. Also, I talked about this with one of my classes the other night. During class, during Shavasana, we do this inhale, love, exhale, love. It's one of my mainstays. It's a lot of love. A lot of love. And so on days when you don't feel like you've got much love, all of these other classes have the love for you. And I know, I tell people I'm hippy dippy, but I'm not airy fairy. So like I'm totally a little hippie child. I was born in the wrong decade. I get that. But truly, there's so much love out there that we're giving for you. And so if you don't feel like you've got it today, don't worry about it. We've got your back. We've got the love for you. So just always tap into that. So thanks. We're going to start making this a regular thing. So let me know what questions you have, what you want to see, and what you loved. And I'll see you soon. Thanks. Oh, check out Yoga Tonic, yoga-tonic.com for more information. Thanks. Bye.